Once upon a time, in a quaint little village nestled between rolling hills and lush forests, there was a small, unassuming bakery called Yuna's Delights. The bakery was run by a kind-hearted and hard-working young woman named Yuna, who had inherited the shop from her beloved grandmother. Yuna would rise before the sun each morning, her eyes sparkling with anticipation for the day's baking adventures. She loved her life in the village, and the villagers loved her delicious breads and pastries. One sunny morning, as Yuna was arranging her freshly baked goods in the display case, a tall, mysterious stranger, wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a long, flowing cloak, entered the shop. The bell above the door jingled merrily, but the stranger's face remained hidden in the shadows of his hat. "Good morning, traveler." Yuna greeted him warmly, her voice like the sound of chimes in a gentle breeze. "What can I tempt you with today?" The stranger stepped closer to the counter, and as he did, Yuna caught a whiff of exotic spices in far-off lands. The scent filled her with a strange mix of nostalgia and wanderlust. "I'll take one of each," the stranger said, his voice deep and enigmatic. His hand, when he placed the coins on the counter, was tanned and calloused, as if he had traveled many long miles. Yuna's heart skipped a beat. No one had ever bought one of each item in her bakery before. It was as if the stranger knew exactly what she needed to hear that day. With a smile, she packed the pastries and breads into a worn leather satchel the stranger handed her. As the stranger turned to leave, Yuna found herself overcome with curiosity. "Excuse me, traveler," she called out, her voice trembling slightly. "Where are you headed next?" The stranger paused, his hand on the door handle. "I'm headed wherever the wind takes me," he said, his eyes twinkling with a mischievous gleam. "But today, I'm headed to the market square. I hear there's a storyteller worth hearing." With that, the stranger disappeared through the door, the bell above it jingling merrily as he went. Yuna stood there, frozen in place, her heart racing with excitement. She had never considered venturing beyond her little village, but now a seed of curiosity had been planted in her mind. The rest of the day, Yuna couldn't focus on her baking. The stranger's words echoed in her head, and the scent of far-off lands lingered in her shop. She knew she had to find out more about this mysterious storyteller in the market square. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in hues of pink and gold, Yuna made a decision. She would close her beloved bakery for one day and follow the stranger's footsteps to the market square. The market square was bustling with activity. When Yuna arrived, her heart pounding with anticipation. Colorful tents and stalls dotted the area, vendors calling out their wares in a cacophony of sound and color. Finally, Yuna spotted the storyteller, a weathered old man with a twinkle in his eye, sitting cross-legged on a threadbare Persian rug. The mysterious stranger from her bakery sat nearby, his hat pulled low over his eyes, listening intently to the tale unfolding. Yuna approached, drawn by an unseen force. The storyteller looked up, his eyes locking onto hers. "Ah, a new listener," he boomed, his voice like thunder in the distance. "Come, join us, and let me weave for you a tale of adventure, magic, and the power of destiny." For the next few hours, Yuna sat entranced, listening to the storyteller's mesmerizing tales of heroes and villains, of enchanted forests and hidden treasures, of love and loss and redemption. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with brushstrokes of fire, the storyteller finally fell silent. The mysterious stranger stood, his cloak billowing around him like a dark wing. He turned to Yuna, his eyes shining with a secret knowledge. "Thank you, kind baker," he said, his voice low and full of meaning. "You have given me sustenance for my journey, and in return, I have given you a glimpse of the world beyond your village. Remember this day, for it may be the day that changed everything." With that, the stranger vanished into the twilight, leaving Yuna standing there, her heart racing and her mind ablaze with possibility. The next morning, Yuna returned to her bakery, her eyes shining with a newfound fire. She knew now that there was a world outside her village, waiting to be explored. And so, she set about making plans. Each day, she baked her delicious breads and pastries, but now, she set aside a small portion of her earnings in a worn leather pouch hidden beneath the counter. And each night, she sat by the glow of a single candle, poring over maps and old travelers' tales, dreaming of the day when she would follow in the footsteps of the mysterious stranger and discover the world beyond her little village. Years passed, and Yuna's bakery thrived. Her pastries became even more delicious, infused as they were with the flavors of her dreams and the spices of her determination. And one day, when the leather pouch beneath the counter was finally plump and full, Yuna knew that the time had come. With tearful hugs and heartfelt goodbyes, Yuna bid farewell to her beloved village and the friends she had made there. She donned a wide-brimmed hat and a long, flowing cloak, and with a worn leather satchel over her shoulder, she stepped into the world beyond. The years that followed were filled with adventure and wonder. Yuna traveled to far-off lands, her heart filled with the same joy and curiosity that had led her to close her bakery that fateful day so long ago. She climbed snow-capped mountains and explored sun-baked deserts. She sailed across sapphire seas and danced with gypsies beneath the stars. And as she traveled, Yuna would often think back to that chance encounter with the mysterious stranger in her bakery. She realized now that he had been the catalyst for the life she had always dreamed of living, but had been too afraid to pursue. Finally, after years of wandering, Yuna returned to her little village, her heart full and her eyes shining with the wisdom of 1,000 journeys. The villagers welcomed her back with open arms, and as they gathered around the warm glow of the hearth in her bakery, she regaled them with tales of her adventures. As the years passed, Yuna continued to bake her delicious breads and pastries, but now they were infused with the flavors of the world she had explored. And every morning, as she opened the shutters of her bakery and greeted the sun with a smile, she would think back to the stranger who had changed everything. For in that single chance encounter, Yuna had discovered the greatest ingredient for a life well lived, the courage to follow her dreams, wherever they might lead.